I'm talking about the Green parties and Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and the New World Order today. Green parties are pretty much in every country, and they come under the guise of environmental protection, and that you should vote for them to get into power so that they will protect the environment. But the truth is they're part of the Agenda 2030 global depopulation under the New World Order, and they want to, like the Hunger Games, restrict your ability to move through zones. Eventually they'll have zones in place, you see, and you'll live in these densified cities like they're making here in Kelowna, which is all condos that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like it costs like $600,000 for an apartment-sized condo here in Kelowna, now. And they're micro apartments that they're making. They're not even full-size apartments, and they want you to live in these micro boxes, like Japan, where they have people stacked on top of each other in the hotels, where you get a little bed and you close the curtain of your bed and you live in there for the night, and you spend $300 for the night to sleep in a bed. You see, and that's part of their plan, and to restrict you from use of the environment under the guise of environmental protection. So you won't be able to go camping and fishing and hunting. They're restricting hunting here now, like they restricted hunting the black bear. I can understand people who are prize hunters that just take the head and don't eat the meat of the bear, but my dad killed bears and he ate the bears and made bear sausage and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, But that's what they do, is they come in and incrementally take away your rights, you see, a little bit at a time until you just don't have any rights left. And they have different agendas working at different times at the same time to take away different rights away from you. And these green parties that you're voting for, and you're thinking, oh, I'm an environmentalist, and I think it's right to protect the animals and the wildlife. But they're not protecting you. You're the virus on the planet as far as they're concerned, and the virus has to be exterminated, and that's the guys, and they have you all recycling and stuff like that. But the truth is those big recycling companies, you have to pay them a recycling fee, and then they take the stuff and then they recycle it, but then they get paid by the ton from companies who buy that to reuse it. So they're just making money all the way around, and you're giving them free stuff to make money. And the cities are picking it up for them with your taxpayers' dollars. They're not paying you what it's worth. They're getting paid for what it's worth and recycling it into other products, you see. And it's all under the guise of environmental protection, that they're getting rich and you're staying poor. And it seems to be that the rich are staying rich and getting richer, like carbon tax, where it goes to Al Gore, And it all goes to Al Gore, all this money, that the carbon tax, and they don't really do anything to stop pollution or protect the environment or this or that. They just get the money and collect it and get rich and spend it. And Al Gore lives in like a giant mansion that has like 15 rooms and all this stuff. Well, he tells you have to live in a little box, and how dare you have a hamburger, because cows produce methane, and methane melts the atmosphere, so you better eat worms and bugs. So you have to kind of wake up people to what they're doing to you through these agendas, is they're trying to control you down with fear that something's bad is going to happen. There's always a boogeyman that they're trying to make you scared of, that you won't stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, and if anybody does stand up, well then, oh my gosh, well, you said something, well then you're a phobic of some way, how dare you stand up for yourself and for your rights, and your fellow family, your friends' rights, and your citizens' rights, And that's what these groups do, is they get into government, and then they change the rules and the laws, and they make it restrictive for you to do things, Just like the Bundys in the States, where the Bundys were raising cattle for over 200 years outside of Las Vegas, and they came in there with a armed militant police force with machine guns and tried to run them off their land, and they all stood up to them and protested and stood up to them with guns and fought back and said, no, this is our land. They even had the Oath Keepers in there, who are retired military and police who protect the Constitution, and they were there to say, no, this is wrong, and they hauled them to jail and put them in jail, but now they've been acquitted because of Trump coming into office and changing all that. So you have to understand that it's all about money in the end, these environmental protection groups, and it's all about control, and controlling you, and your family and your friends. It's not really about protecting the environment. It's not about protecting the tortoise, like what they were going to do on the Bundy Ranch is they were going to stick in a huge solar farm because it's in the middle of the desert, and that's what they were going to do to their land, is turn it all into a solar farm once they seized it. It wasn't about protecting the tortoise, it was just about making money, for the politicians. And unfortunately, that's what the Green parties are. They're working for the New World Order to undermine your rights and freedoms. So it's best you don't vote for them. And that's all I really have to say. I hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you, is that you're being duped. You're being duped by these people, and you shouldn't be duped anymore. And they're just using fear to make you fear that something bad is going to happen if you don't vote them into office, and stop all these things going on, like people going and selectively logging and cutting trees, or people who are gold mining in a creek. Oh, that's going to destroy the environment. A little mud doesn't hurt the fish, But that's what they want to make you believe, that there's a boogeyman and you better come jump too or you're dead meat. So, you have to stand up as a society and not vote for these parties, because they're going to take away your rights and make you live in these little mega cities that are highly densified with like 1 million people in one small little city, all living in towers, and you won't have a house. You won't, that's like here in the Okanagan, there are very few houses being built, and it's all condominiums and giant hotels now that are 33 stories tall and 40 stories tall, and then they sell them for $600,000-$700,000 for one small little micro condo, for your family to live in. And there's becoming a more and more divide. Poor people just can't afford to live here anymore, and that's the whole plan, is to kick the poor people out, and make only the rich live here. There's almost nowhere to rent in the Okanagan for the poor that's affordable. There's no affordable housing. If you go to rent a one bedroom apartment, you're spending over $1,000 a month. And unfortunately, that's the way it is they're forcing them into the streets, living in the streets, and then they'll be like, oh, they're an eyesore, and then we'll haul them to the FEMA camps, and we'll put them in there for their own safety and your safety. So unfortunately, that's the plan. Well, you take care. Bye.